Hi guys, Toymaker here with another tutorial on creating content for Twinity. This video will be a sort of continuation of the previous video where I showed you a basic UV mapping technique using a single material and texture. In this video we're going to take it a step further. We're going to add a second texture to the box model, then bake it down to a single texture sheet. I'm also going to show you a simple way to optionally add some ambient occlusion during the bake to give your model that extra level of depth and realism without the need to alter your texture in an image editing program. By using the technique that I'm going to demonstrate, you can use as many textures and materials on your models as you like before the bake without having to worry about upload limitations or the impact your object will have on game performance once the texture sheet is baked out. So, with that, we'll get started. You can see here in my scene the box that we made in the previous video, and you can see that there's just a single material with a single texture applied to it. Looks real good. Looks okay, but we can make it look a little cooler, and this is how we're going to do that. All right, the first thing we're going to do is grab a new material. I think, yeah, we'll start there. And then in the diffuse, our little diffuse box there, click on that, hit bitmap, and go to wherever your textures can be found, whatever texture you want to use. I'm going to use this one. It's one that I kind of altered in Photoshop to better match my the box that I'm working on here and stuff, and I'm going to add it to these recessed areas here. So we open that up, and it's added into our material editor, and now we've got to get it onto our box model. So how are we going to do that? Well, as you can see, I've still got the stack here in 3ds Max. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You're fine. If you collapse the stack, you can still do it. It's not a problem. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and do that. We'll collapse all. You don't have to do this. You can do this. It's either way. It's no big deal. And this is a very, very simple step, especially on this particular object. Then we want to go into element and grab the entire thing, and down here where it says polygon material ID under the element subobject mode, where it says set ID, we just want to click once on the down arrow, and what that'll do is set the material IDs of the entire object to 1. Alright, now we want to go over to the polygon subobject mode. I'm going to click on ignore backfacing to make selecting a little bit easier, and I'm going to start grabbing the faces that I want to apply the new texture to. So these are the ones. I got them all, and again over here we'll go back over here to the polygon material IDs, and we're going to set those to 2 just by clicking on the little arrow up there, and that's all we got to do there for the moment. Alright, so we've got that, but we can't exactly just toss it on there. If we try to stick it on there, and you can kind of see what happens. Everything gets kind of jacked up. Actually, that doesn't look horrible. Well, actually, it sort of does, but that's not what we're after. That's not what we want. So we'll put our other material back on there, and we're going to go in here and we're going to make a third material. And what we'll do is click here on the standard button, and we're going to go up here to and find the multi-sub-object material, and we'll just discard the old material. Click OK, and this will come up. And now what we want to do is click on the set number, and we just want 2. And then hit OK, and that'll leave us with 2 slots there. All right, the first slot, which is ID number 1, which we set pretty much everything to. We want to click and drag that onto there, and we'll do it as an instance. And then the second material, we'll click and drag that onto there as an instance. And now when we apply this new material that we just made to our object, bada boom, there we are. It's on there. It's looking pretty cool. But you know, things aren't quite lined up the way that we'd like. The texture just isn't fitting quite the way that we want. So the way to fix that is that we just go into the polygon subobject mode, see that those polygons are all still selected. If they're not, you can just go back and reselect them. It's no big deal. And because they're arranged in kind of a box shape, what we can do is we can just click on the UVW map button and then set it to box, and there we go. It's all straightened out and looking pretty. You don't have to do it that way. You could actually do it the way that I showed you in the previous video with you know, doing the planar or whatever. If you have a round object, you could do it with cylinder, whatever. You know, whatever it is that fits your particular situation. I think in this particular case we could probably even do it by face, and it'll still look the way that it's supposed to. I'm going to stick with box. But there you go. Anyway, and then you just slap another edit poly on there, and your box is good to go. You've now got two materials and 2 textures on there. It looks pretty good. And by using this method, you could potentially put as many materials on there as you wanted to. So say you wanted to change you know, some of the faces. I'm going to turn on our edge spaces there. And that's actually a little bit hard to see. There we go. You wanted to change up some of this here, or you wanted to change up some of this here, then what you would do is just go in. You wanted a third material, then you would select the faces that you wanted to change, and then set the material ID to the next one incrementally. So in this case it would be 3. Over here you would need 3 materials, and anything with the material ID of 3 would have that third material, and then you would just go in and you would UV map it the way that, you know, oriented the way that you wanted it. So it's actually a very, very easy technique once you know how to do it. And it makes your objects look pretty cool, actually. So all right, so now that we've got that done, the problem with all of this is, you know, it's there, it all looks good. It's a pretty easy texturing technique, but the problem is that we have all these different materials on our object, and when you import it into the game, that's having a lot of different materials on an object can be very, very bad for the game engine and game performance. You really want your objects to have as few materials and as few textures on on it as you can manage. So yeah, there's a little bit of a balancing act going on with this. This is actually a relatively small object. It's only 3 feet by 3 feet. And the textures that I'm using for this are one is I think 500 by 500 pixels, and the other one is 512 by 512. So they're not real huge. The file sizes aren't real huge or anything like that, but that kind of thing kind of adds up. When you get into bigger objects, then you can really run into some serious issues. So you just got kind of a balancing act that you got to perform, and get it looking as good as you can possibly get it looking, and then get it into the game. But what I'm going to show you now is is a way to bake your texture, your model, or your textures down into a single texture sheet with a single material, so that it reduces the overall footprint on the game engine, or the overall performance impact on the game engine. So and the way that you do that is like this. What we want to do now, we've got our textures on there, we got it mapped. Now we want to add an unwrap UVW modifier to our object, just right on top. And the first once you got that on there, you want to switch that to map channel 2. So there's map channel 2, right down here under the parameters. It says channel, map channel 2. It was 1. You switch it up to 2. You might get some kind of warning dialogue about it. Just go ahead, and especially in the later versions of Max, if you're running a later version of Max and you run into that issue and you have problems with this part of the tutorial, then just send me a message or whatever, and I'll do my best to kind of help you out with getting that sorted out and getting it working the way that you want it to. But it's not enough just to do this. What we've got to do next is go into Edit. What that'll do is that'll bring this up, this Edit UVWs dialog, this window here, and I'm going to hit the little plus icon up there, and then we want to go to Face. And then by hitting Control A on the keyboard, it'll select all of the faces on the model. And now over here in the Edit UVWs, we want to go to Mapping and then Flat Mapping. And these default settings should be just fine. You hit OK, and what it does is it puts everything, it spreads the whole thing out on in this one-to-one UV space. And this part of this process, this technique, is critical to making this happen. Otherwise, it won't bake out correctly. So once that's done, you can turn that off. Go up here to rendering, and then down to render to texture. And on the render to texture dialog, you got your box selected. It'll show box 1 right here. You want to go down a little bit where it says mapping coordinates, use existing channel, and you want to set that to 2. Go down a little bit further, add. Under output, you want to click on add. Diffuse map. Actually, let's just do complete map. Add elements, and then select element common settings, file name and type. What you want to do is you're probably going to want to change this and save your texture to someplace on your computer hard drive where it's really easy to find. I'm going to call mine box texture. Box texture sheet. There we go. It's a little more descriptive. And I'm just going to make mine out as a JPEG. Some of the other image file formats are probably a little better, but you know, hey, for the purposes of this tutorial, that'll be fine. I'm also going to make it out at 1024 by 1024. Click on that little button there. You can see the size changed up here in the output. And the interesting thing about this is that a 1024 by 1024 JPEG, once it's baked out and stuff, is just barely larger kilobyte wise than my 500 pixel and my 512 pixel textures. So I'm actually getting kind of a break on this. Then we go down here. I don't want shadows, but you just hit render. And you're probably going to get this dialog. This is fine. Just hit continue. And this is what you end up with. But this isn't really looking the way that we want it to look. There's some of our geometry is missing. So how do we fix that? Well, let's go back, get that back in there. Just hit back on your or the undo, and then what we need to do actually is add a light to the scene. That way everything is lit. And the way that you do that is just go into up here on the Create tab, go into Lights, from down to Standard Lights, and add a skylight. And you can add that skylight anywhere you want in the scene. And I'm just going to put mine right there. And you select your box again, get it back up in the dialog, and then hit render again. Continue, overwrite files, bada boom, there we are. There's our texture. But here in Max, it looks like something's happened. Well, you know, you don't have to worry about that. It's not a big deal. What we're going to do to fix that is we're just going to go and open up our material editor. By hitting M on the keyboard, and we're going to create yet another new material. You selected your material slot, go into standard, or wait, I'm sorry, go down to diffuse, bitmap, and then we'll go up to the desktop where we just made that save that texture to, and my box texture sheet is right there. It's only 425 kilobytes, as you can see. This image was 254, this one was 127, so we're talking 370, 381 kilobytes. This one is only 425. It's a single texture. It's barely larger than these two combined. So, and the difference really is negligible. Plus, it's 1024 by 1024 rather than a 500 by 500 or 512 by 512. So the resolution is actually a little bit higher. So we'll grab that, open it up. So we've got it on our object. Click on the Show Standard Map and Viewport. Select our object. Then assign it, and there it is. But it's looking a little jacked up, and we can't have that. That doesn't look real good. So how do we fix that? Well, we go over here to our parameters on the unwrap UVW for our box, and then we just change that back down to map channel 1, and our object's on there. Well, it doesn't look real good. Here in the viewport, it looks a little pixelated, a little bad, but if you hit rendering, you will see it really doesn't look bad at all. And this is the way that it'll actually look in game once you get it in there. And that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. However, we can actually get it to look a little better still. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So to do that, what we're going to do is actually add a little bit of ambient occlusion to our object, and a little bit of shadowing. It'll kind of it'll fill in the creases and the seams and stuff, and actually make it look really good. And so how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is go in here, go to your light, and we want the sky color. You want the sky color to be set all the way down to white. It'll probably be set to a little bit blue. You can leave it like that if you want to. I usually just bring it all the way down to pure white. The second thing you're going to want to do is go up here to rendering, go to environment, and in the background color we're going to want to change the background color again to pure white. And that's all we need to do there. And then under rendering, again, we want to go, this time we want to go to light tracer. You click on light tracer, and in the light tracer, this will actually activate the light tracing. You want to change the raise samples up to about, so let's say 1500, and let's see here, filter size, let's go about 1.5 for that. Let's see how that looks. And then down here in initial sampling spacing, let's take that down to about 4x4 and render that out and see how that looks. Let's get in there a little bit closer where we can see it a little bit better. Rendering. So as you can see, it kind of adds an extra degree of realism to your object. Adds that ambient occlusion in there. And it really looks, I think it looks pretty good. So now what we'll do is go in here, we'll go back up to map channel 2, go to materials, add that, our multi-sub object texture, we're going to want to put that back, slap that back on there. Then under rendering, we'll go down here to render to texture. I got that, set to map channel 2, that's all good, it's all good, good, and we hit render, continue, overwrite files. And as you can see, the baking process is taking a little bit longer this time. But it's getting all that ambient occlusion in there. And now our texture is baked out. Grab grab our new texture, slap it on there. This will be the same texture since, you know, we just overwrote it. Slap it on there, and then change back down to map channel 1. Get rid of our light from the scene. Let's go up here, rendering, light tracer. We'll turn that off. Hit render. Rendered out very quickly, and as you can see, actually we'll go up here, rendering, environment, color, background. We'll take that back up to black so that we're back at our original settings. There you go. And when you import it into the game, that is the way that it'll look. And again, like I said, you can add as many materials as you want to your object this way, and then bake it out in the end, and you'll have. Let's spin this around here a little bit so you can see. This is the kind of result that you'll have. It'll be a single material, single texture. So the performance footprint on the game will be minimal, and you won't have a bunch of objects with a bunch of materials and textures on them. Just one material, one texture. Very, very game engine friendly, and it looks really good. And yeah, so all right, well, I guess that'll wrap this video tutorial up. Feel free to subscribe, to like the video, leave a comment in the comment section. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up by either leaving a question in the comments section or hit me up in game. I'm always happy to answer questions.